Okay, so let's talk about the coaching process. Now, obviously, if you have been coaching for quite a while, you can start getting pretty technical with your coaching support. If you are even at the intermediary stage, then you can pull out some extra tools and frameworks and exercises, and you can be more flexible with your coaching. But if you're just starting out and you want to know, okay, how can I take somebody from point A to point B, then I'm going to give you some simple structure. Okay, this is just giving you a heads up and letting you know this is a simple step-by-step process that if you were to just run through this and practice this, because I believe that success is practice. It's not just like you just get it overnight. It happens when you keep showing up and being consistent. This is where you learn more about yourself, and this is where you learn how to improve your skill set. But if we were to look at this and just really practice these steps, and maybe you start out with coaching a family member or a friend, maybe it's for free, maybe it's for $50 or $100 or $200, whatever it is. If you were to follow these steps, you would start to feel and know, wow, it actually isn't very hard to be a coach. It's not even actually that challenging, because it's more about you supporting somebody through their journey. Okay. So you're like the fallback person they can fall back to, but they're still pulling weight and making it happen. Well, if they're a good client, they are. So I'm going to break down these 6 simple steps just to give you an idea of what a coaching session would typically cover. And then you will start to get more of an understanding of what it's all about. Because sometimes we can see people on social media and we think, oh, coaching looks like really hard and you have to be so intelligent. And maybe you got to sound like Jordan Peterson, or you've got to have like the intellect of somebody like Nietzsche or something like that. It's so not true, right? Coaches support. That's what it's about. You don't have to be, a high IQ person to crush that. So here's number 1. You want to establish a coaching agreement. So let's say somebody says, hey, yeah, I want to work with you. Great. The first step in the coaching process is for the coach and the client to establish a coaching agreement and have in place a very defined scope of what this relationship is going to look like. You want to set the expectations, and you also want to clarify your roles and responsibilities. So for example, if I was to go into a session with someone, I'll say, hey, look, here's what we're looking at covering over the next 3 weeks or 6 weeks or 2 sessions. And as your coach, I'm here to support, right? I can't want this more than you. That's not how this works. We're going to want it just as much as each other, or you're going to want it even more than I do in order for this to work, right? I'm here to support you with knowing what to focus on, creating clarity, and holding you accountable, okay? And the expectation could be that each session I'm going to give you something to work on, whether it's some homework or a framework or some sort of tool or steps and exercise we're going to go through. And at the end of it, you have time to process. Maybe they go and journal. Maybe you do a check-in with them midweek and just see how they're going. Maybe they rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10 during the session and a scale of 1 to 10 after the session, maybe a couple of days later or during the week before the next session. You just set the expectations so they know this is how I support and this is how I expect you to show up in this. Just clarifying the roles. I am here to support you, but I'm not going to pull you all the way and drag you by your feet. Okay, that's key. After you've established a coaching agreement and really negotiated what the roles are, the second thing you're going to do when you're sitting down and working through the session with them is you'll want to identify what are their goals. Okay, so you want to sit down and go, okay, what is it that you'd really love to create? If you were to think about your future, what would you like to see that's different in your life that currently isn't in place, and get really clear on what that is. You want to explore the client's values, you want to explore their beliefs, you want to explore their strengths and the areas that they really want to improve on, right? So get clear on the goals. The third area of the coaching process is to create an action plan. So once you know what their goals are, you support them with an action plan. An action plan can be anything from, having a strategy to say, okay, this week I want you to send me a message and let me know, give me an update on how you're going with your habits. Maybe they go through a tool or a framework that you've learned. We teach a lot of them in Influential Coach. I have over 23 of my best tools and frameworks and exercises that I use in all my coaching practices. And I teach my coaches in Influential Coach, which is the next program, the premium program, on how to do this. But you may know some, practices, some exercises that you might have learned. And so once you know that, You then want to give them some sort of an action plan to be able to follow. This is steps, strategies, something clear, something measurable, and something realistic. And sometimes you don't want to go too big. You want to just go enough. You chunk it down and give them some steps so they can start to see some change slowly but surely, inch by inch, day by day, habit by habit. This is how we create change. All right. Sometimes some people can't take the big shift that they feel like they're going to snap. So you want to get them out of their comfort zone and get them into action. After you've gone through the third part, which I mentioned is creating an action plan, it's really about taking the action. So it's you being there for feedback. It's you following up with them and seeing how you're going with your action plan, how you're feeling this week, what would you rate yourself? Are you ready and prepared for the next session? Are you journaling every morning? Have you been meditating or visualizing? Have you been reading, your books or learning a new skill set? Whatever it is, you want them to take action and hold them to that, okay? Then if we were to look at the fifth area, the fifth point here is reviewing the process, okay? And when we review the process, we want to look at it and see what's your process right now? Are you taking action? Are you sticking to your goals? And then you want to see what is the progress that you've made. Get them to check in, because if you got something measurable and they see that they've at least improved a little bit, or now they've become consciously aware that, hey, I know I've been letting some obstacles get in the way, or hey, I actually did something new today, or over the last 3 days, I've stuck to my habit. This is actually really good. They start feeling more powerful. And you're doing your job as a coach by holding people to this. So you want to review what is the process they've been going through, and review that progress. That's the key. Okay. The process and the progress. Super important stuff. And then as we get to the sixth point here, to really break down the whole coaching process in a nutshell, and this is a nutshell because this is more basic coaching here. As you go intermediary or advanced, it gets higher level and technical, but that's, like a Tony Robbins or things that I do, or other coaches out there that have been doing this for a while will go even higher level with technical skills. But for now, this basic process has 6 steps. And the 6th step is you want to get them to a point where you're completing the coaching relationship, right? So once a client has achieved their goals or feels that they've made this amazing progress, the coaching relationship must come to a close, okay? Because if I keep having somebody relying on me, then I become like the crutch. Your goal is to get them to a point where they no longer need you as a coach. And, some people like to feel needed. I get it. I've had moments like that. And I have a lot of coaches that I train that feel like that too. But you want to really be proud of your clients and see, hey, this person stuck to it. They made the changes. You get to a point where you don't have any more tools or frameworks or exercises to run them through. Maybe you've supported them so much, they've outgrown your coaching, and maybe they go even higher level with somebody that's done it longer, or somebody that specializes in a certain skill set or trainings that are more specific or more niche-like. And that's great. They go on their journey and they learn more. You want to get a testimonial at the end of it, right? Like, that's the whole point. You want to show that you can get results. Okay. So you don't want them to become dependent on you, to have to constantly stay on with you. And, sometimes I hear people say, I've been seeing my therapist for like 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. And I'm like, what are you guys doing in these sessions, right? Not to bag therapists. I think therapists are great. I think there's great therapists and great coaches and great psychologists, and then there's terrible ones in all of those fields. But the key here is to understand it's about you closing that out and completing that coaching relationship. And that is a successful coach right there. So you're learning already the 6 different ways, 6 different steps on the coaching process, so that you at least now have some form of a structure or a systematic understanding as to how you would support your clients. So anyway, I hope this helped you. And I know for me in the beginning, when I started sticking more to this process, it gave me so much clarity as a coach. So let's move into the next module as we go into module 2.